Rimuru and Chloe in TBATE by Kingfinder46. CH5 journey begins. The next day. Rimuru Liwin. The next morning, Arthur and I woke up and headed to the dining room for breakfast. The atmosphere was unusually quiet. Dad was reading the newspaper, and Mom was busy preparing food. Neither of them spoke a word. Trying to lighten the mood, I greeted them cheerfully. "Good morning, Dad." "Good morning, Mom." Mom responded with a warm smile, while Dad just gave a small nod. Silence filled the room again. I glanced at Arthur, wondering if he knew why the mood was so gloomy. Arthur looked at me and shrugged, as if reading my mind. It was a subtle gesture, but it showed how much our bond had grown over the past 2 years. We climbed into our chairs and waited for Mom to serve breakfast. When Mom brought the food, everyone ate in silence. Once the plates were cleared, Dad cleared his throat, breaking the silence. He began, "So, boys, now that you've formed your cores, your mother and I will be teaching you everything we know. After that, I plan to send you both to a great academy. Honestly, if it were up to me, I would have already sent you. Your potential is unmatched." Mom immediately shot Dad a glare. He coughed awkwardly and added, "But you're still too young. I don't want to send you far away just yet. So, until the time is right, we'll teach you ourselves." Arthur and I nodded, not that we had much say in the matter. After all, who listens to a 2- and 3-year-old? From that day on, our training began. Dad took charge of our physical and sword training in the mornings, while Mom taught us reading and writing, though it was mostly focused on Arthur. Thanks to my ever-reliable partner Seal, who quickly deciphered the local language, I mastered reading and writing in no time. I had also spent most of this life buried in books, so you could basically call me a walking library. Mom seemed a bit disappointed that she couldn't teach me much, but that only made Dad happier. Every day after Arthur left with Mom, Dad would drag me off, saying, "Since you already know everything, you can't just sit around. So come train with me all day." Those words gave me traumatic flashbacks of Hikuro's hellish training. Back when I was a slime, I didn't get tired, so it was manageable. But in this child's body, it was pure torture. Every evening, I collapsed into bed, completely drained and sore. Despite the pain, Dad's swordsmanship training was easy for me. I could flawlessly execute any move he showed me. Arthur, while talented, still seemed to struggle slightly. It felt like he hadn't fully adapted to his body yet. Dad often mumbled in disbelief about how we performed so perfectly, sometimes sounding a bit jealous of our talent. And so, the same routine repeated daily. 2 years later, Liwin household dining room. Third-person POV. As they ate breakfast, Reynolds suddenly sighed. "Alice, I think it's time we hired a tutor for the boys." At those words, Alice stood up, visibly upset. "Reynolds, they're only 4 and 5 years old. How can you even think about sending them to another city at this age?" "I know," Reynolds replied defensively, "but I didn't expect our sons to be such geniuses. I thought it would take years for them to master these techniques. But no matter what I throw at them, they pick it up instantly. I have nothing more to teach them, they're beyond me." Alice frowned but then softened. Reynolds added, "Let's ask the kids. Let's see what they want." Both parents turned to face the boys. Arthur looked dumbfounded, wondering what kind of parents left such an important decision to their children. Rimuru was equally surprised, but then offered a solution. "If we're going to move to another city, why don't you both come with us?" Their parents stared at him, stunned. Alice whispered, "Right, we could go with them. I want to see his test and meet his teacher too." Reynolds laughed. "Why didn't we think of that earlier? Let's all go." He stood up and shouted, "Let's go to Zyrus City." That night, Arthur and I were in bed reading when Mom walked in and took our books. "You both need to sleep. We're leaving tomorrow," she said, holding the books. Arthur looked up and asked, "Why tomorrow? Can't we leave a little later?" Mom sighed. "I don't want to rush either. But our friends, the Twin Horns, are heading to the city tomorrow. We'll travel with them." I suddenly spoke up. "That means you and Dad can see your friends again, and we'll have protection on the journey." "Right." Mom looked surprised. "You always manage to catch me off guard, Rimuru. You are too smart for this age." Rimuru Liwin. "Well, I am thousands of years old," I thought to myself. After Mom left, I made sure the coast was clear, then turned to Arthur. Hey Arthur, you're strange. You're way too mature for a 4-year-old. So what's your secret? I watched as he tried not to react, clearly caught off guard. It was amusing to see him struggle to hide his thoughts in a toddler's body. Truth be told, I was getting impatient. I wanted him to open up, to tell me why he sometimes looked so reserved and burdened. I didn't want Seal to tell me about his past life. I wanted to hear it from him. He clearly had a rough past, and that made me even more eager to hear it from his own mouth. Sometimes just talking about your burdens helps ease them. And as a fellow reincarnate, I hated seeing him suppress it all. Like me who had enjoyed my first reincarnated life, even if there were hiccups sometimes, some bugs like Feldway, mostly I enjoyed my life. And I don't want him to be a bit depressed and reserved even in his second life. I want to push him so that he could at least enjoy this life. He has so much talent, so much potential. But that sadness in his heart could weigh him down. As someone once said on Earth, the sooner, the better. The sooner he opens up, the sooner he can focus fully on the future. Hey Seal, I'm a genius, right? Master, you're trying to push him to open up, but you didn't think this through. That question you asked, it's a double-edged sword. Huh, really? While I was thinking, Arthur suddenly replied, what do you mean I'm strange? If I'm strange, then you're way beyond that. What kind of kid can read at 2 and write at 3? You should be the one explaining your secret. I widened my eyes slightly but quickly composed myself. Hey, now that you mention it, we're both pretty strange, huh? Arthur sighed. Yeah, we are. Arthur Lewin. When Rimuru asked me that question, I was caught off guard. I tried to stay calm, but my emotions slipped through my childlike facade. He just sat there, grinning and waiting. When I turned the question back on him, he was surprised, but recovered quickly. It only made me more suspicious. How does he speak like he knows I'm reincarnated? Does he really know? Could he be, like me? Even after 4 years together, I still can't fully read Rimuru. As a king, it's frustrating to admit I can't figure out a 5-year-old. If he truly is reincarnated, I don't know what he'd do with that information. Part of me wants to tell him, but as a king, I can't just trust him yet. That night, both of us eventually drifted off to sleep. The next morning, when I woke up, Rimuru was already gone. I quickly freshened up and headed to the dining room. There he was, waiting cheerfully for breakfast. Hey, why'd you leave me behind? You could have woken me up. I asked. He shrugged. You were sleeping like a log. I figured you were tired. We chatted about books until Mom brought in our food. While eating, Rimuru asked, so Mom, Dad, what are your friends like? I perked up, eager to hear the answer. They're a mixed bunch, Dad replied. True, Mom added. There are 2 conjurers and 3 augmenters. You'll meet them soon, so eat quickly. Both their answers felt vague, and I could tell Rimuru was also disappointed. After breakfast, we packed our bags and headed to the meeting point. After a while, we saw a group waving at us. A red-haired man ran up and hugged Dad. Then, he knelt and patted our heads with both hands. I'm Adam Crench, he said. He had wild red hair tied messily, with bright, mischievous eyes and a scar across his nose reaching both cheeks. Rimuru asked, how'd you get that scar, Sir Adam? Adam puffed up dramatically and launched into a tale about saving people from a powerful beast. Mid-story, a blonde woman smacked the back of his head. Don't lie to the kids. She snapped. He got it in a bar, trying to flirt with a woman. She smiled warmly, scooped Rimuru into a hug, and smothered him in her assets. For the first time, I felt jealous of him. Rimuru gave me a sly, perverted grin, which only made it worse. Author note. Replace Arthur with Rimuru. Rimuru Pav. Seal. Perverted master. Hey Seal, this is the first time I touched some melons since I left Tempest. Let this young, handsome, brave man have some alone time. Oh, by the way, do you have a recording feature? HMPH. Pervert. Hey Seal, do you have it or not? Seal respond. Darn it, why do you not help in the most important matters? Rimuru Pav end. Arthur Pav continue. She then hugged me too and introduced herself. I'm Angela Rose, a conjurer specializing in wind magic. Her long blonde hair curled at the ends, and her radiant green eyes sparkled with mischief. Her proportions were impressive. A towering man then picked me up. My small body felt helpless. But then he gently set me down and gave me a kind smile. Hi kids, I'm Durden Walker, a conjurer who specializes in earth magic. Despite his intimidating height, which I believe it is more than 200 centimeters, his gentle nature was obvious. He reminded me of a friendly dog. Meanwhile, Rimuru was having a staring contest with a beautiful girl. She bowed slightly to me and disappeared into the carriage. She had long, straight black hair tied in a half updo with a dark green ribbon, black bangs framing her pale face, and sharp red eyes. She wore a high-collared black top with green trim, belted at the waist, black leggings, and fingerless gloves. 2 long daggers were strapped to her back, and a hidden dagger rested at her ankle beneath black boots. After she had boarded the carriage, a woman carrying a bow stepped forward. Don't mind her, she's just shy. I'm Helen Shard, an augmenter specializing in magical archery. Helen has sharp yellow eyes, a perky nose, and thin red lips. She has shoulder-length black hair tied tightly at the back into a bun, with 2 bangs. She seemed to be a half-elf half-human. I thought to myself. When I was shaking Helen's hand she spoke. Oh, by the way, the girl who walked away, she's called Jasmine Flamesworth, she uses dual daggers and is an augmenter, Helen added with a soft smile. Give her time, she's a bit shy. But I guarantee you, she'll probably become the one closest to you. I nodded, then went towards Rimuru. I'm going to become the greatest mage in this continent. If you don't focus, I'll surpass you. Rimuru laughed. In your dreams, buddy, and walked toward the carriage. With that, we all climbed into the carriages and began our journey to Xyrus City.